Lady from New Hampshire, Ms. Goodlander.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our witnesses for being here today. Mr. Secretary, I want to begin with you and thank you for visiting the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard right at the beginning of your tenure. You were there back in April, and I was very encouraged to hear from you, and I appreciate you too, Admiral, prioritizing what we need to do for our public shipyards. The Portsmouth Naval Shipyard is America's oldest public shipyard, and the men and women who work there have really hard and important jobs, and I appreciate what you've said about the need to support our shipyard workers. We also need to hire more shipyard workers, as you've both testified. And at the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, we've got to hire 550 workers a year. I was encouraged, Mr. Secretary, that when you visited back in April, you announced that 150 personnel have received initial job offers. I wanted to ask you, as far as we know, no one has actually been hired since then. And we want to support you in clearing the way of any red tape or bureaucratic process that is preventing shipyard workers from being hired. So could you give us a status update?
I'll have to take that one for the record and come back to you, Congresswoman. I don't have those numbers with me right now.
Well, would very much appreciate an update on the status, and we'll submit questions that go directly to any bureaucratic hurdles that you're facing at OMB or OPM. You know, I also just want to point out what you've said about supporting our workers is really important. They're facing a real attack because of the president's executive order that seeks to really strip away fundamental rights of our unionized shipyard workers and federal employees across the board. One of my real concerns about H.R. 1, the GOP budget bill, is the elimination of the federal employee retirement system, the FERS annuity supplement, which is really so critical to helping federal employees who retire before the age of 62. It's bad policy, and it's hurting our shipyard workers and really federal workers across the board. And I want to just point that out. Mr. Secretary, I want to thank you for what you've committed to doing with respect to the audit. This is incredibly important. I will submit questions to you about what specific barriers you face in achieving a clean audit, which is so essential to public trust and to any functioning organization. And I also want to thank you for your commitment to the right to repair and for your candor in assessing the situation as it is, that this is just simply nonsense and an outrage that we can't fix our own equipment. And I look forward to hearing what steps you're concretely taking to ensure that we fix the way that we do contracts and we empower the Navy to repair its own and maintain its own equipment. General, I want to pick up on my colleague's line of questioning and ask you, and Mr. Chairman, I'd like to submit to the record an article from the Associated Press yesterday entitled "Pentagon Draws Up Rules on Possible Use of Force by Marines Deployed to LA Protests."
Without objections, ordered.
Thank you. General, can you please clarify what rules, the President's executive order do not specify what rules apply to any Marines who have been deployed to Los Angeles or who will be deployed domestically in the future. What rules apply and when were those rules written? Because according to this article, quote, the Pentagon was scrambling just this week on Monday to establish rules to guide U.S. Marines who could be faced with the rare and difficult prospect of using force against citizens on American soil.
And we're using the standing rules for the use of force, or SRUF. These rules emphasize de-escalation, use of non-lethal force, and the inherent right of self-defense for Marines and others. So SRUF, standing rules for the use of force.
And General, you commit to providing this committee with a complete copy of the rules that are being distributed right now?
Yes, ma'am.
And when were those rules developed? Were they revised at all?
I don't believe they were revised, ma'am.
So it's always been clear from your perspective what rules apply, and it's the rules you just mentioned.
Yes, ma'am. These are rules that we would use in any number of situations. Marines have training in crowd control, and they have these rules for embassy reinforcement. They have these rules for non-lethal situations, and they're trained to them.
Thank you, General. And the 4 days of training, who is responsible for this training, and where is it being conducted?
Ma'am, I am responsible for it, and the local commanders are responsible for it. It's being conducted at home station.
Genleady's
where they're
time's
deployed.
expired. Chair, I recognize the gentlelady from South Carolina, Ms.